here, I would just go ahead and start a new drawing. I'm going to change my units, so it's millimeters, and go ahead and click new. Just gonna change so it's in perspective and make sure that my visual style is on the modeling. You don't really always have to do this, is because when I launched the Brickscape for the very first time, I selected to be a 2D workspace, so I kind of remembered those variables. Okay, creating a project. So I just created a project, and I'm gonna go ahead and draw a box just from my quad. And let's go ahead and start again from just a 0, 0. And let's, as you can see, you have those dimensions. You can interact with those dimensions. So I can now, for my y-axis, give these values. Okay. And now I'm gonna do this again. Let's say you put, so now I'm this value, but you actually want to go back and change the other one. You just have to click on the tab key, and now I have the option to change that dimension I had already put before. This is just in case you change your mind. So I'm gonna click enter, and now let's give the Z value. Let's give a value of 1,000 as well, and we just have a box. And so now let's do some manipulation on the faces. Let's start with just one face. As you can see, my selection mode is on 0. So if I want to select my face, I can either click Control to toggle through the selections, or I can just activate the face. And since we're going to be doing selecting a few faces, I will leave that option on. So how about we use the push-pull tool to manipulate just this face? As you can see, the quad already recognizes what I most likely would do. And just in case some extra suggestions for the face, I'm just going to do the push-pull. This is something really important to keep in mind. Now, when you're using push-pull, you have also, as you can see on the tips here at the bottom, I can either keep this continuous as a union, or is going to subtract on whichever entity will intersect. This is also depending on a variable that you have on the options. So if I click options and I type push pull, as you can see, it took me right away. I have disabled the subtractions of the push-pull. If I were to enable this, so now I'm gonna close this, and now if I do this push-pull, now first it's gonna have this enable automatically, and I will have to tell it to not subtract it. And how can I do that? Is by clicking, toggling with the control key. So now if I click, now it's not going to subtract anything. This is really important to keep in mind when you are modeling, because sometimes it will imprint even if it's not subtracting. So maybe how about I just so as you can see now, whenever I push it, maybe I'm gonna move this a little bit more to the side to give you a better, okay, they're overlapping. So if I were to use the push-pull and come here, is automatically gonna subtract that. So if I go ahead and hide this, now you can see a subtracted. But you might not always want this, especially when you those faces sometimes are so close to each other. It's possible that now it might not do it. But sometimes you might get an imprint in this face, and this can cause issues later on when it comes to bimify or propagate it, or then you might have to then start using or manage tool to optimize your solids. So just keep in mind, I'm just gonna change the back. I personally like to have the full control this way. And it's also easier for me to model this way. Okay, manipulating multiple faces, so I can also select 2 faces just like that by just clicking. I don't have to click shift or anything like that. I just can continue clicking. And something nice to know is, for example, if I click those faces and do the push pull, I can now put whichever distance I want, and they both are gonna be extended the same way. It works also the same with this. So if I now, it would adjust those 2 at the same time. So that's handy also to know. Copying solid, this is the same as in the 2D. You can go ahead and either you can type the copy command, and once you select the entities you want to copy, is also just going to ask you to enter a base point. So for example, I select this one, and now I can go ahead and move it anywhere. Or you can just do it from the quad. So as you can tell, obviously it remembers the last command I did, but just in case if you don't find it, you can just come here to modify, and there it is, and it's just the same tool. Now let's go ahead and check out some manipulations on the edges. So I'm going to maybe enable now the edge. Or actually, I don't even have to. I'm going to use the example of selection and toggle through my selection modes, and now I have all my edges selected. So I can now add a fillet, and I don't know, let's keep value of 10. Maybe that was too small. Yeah, let's try that again. 20. Of course, that's small, but just like that, you can apply some fillet by selecting all and then applying the